Good morning, Gideon. Thank you for taking the time for this interview. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. All right, yeah. As you know, I've been pretty busy lately, but right now the first wave of hard work is over. So yeah, I'm taking a little bit, taking it a little bit slow right now.
Okay, so, very good. So, please tell us something about yourself, where you come from, your upbringing, and what specifically triggered your interest into going into electronics.
All right, yeah. Well, I grew up in Amsterdam in a very peaceful family with both parents, both very loving, very caring, with one older brother. And well, it was just yeah, the end of the 70s, the beginning of the 80s. I'm from 74 myself. So yeah, the computers started to come a little bit in the early 80s. It was mostly my brother actually that started to develop interest in computers. And so he started with the ZX81 from Sinclair, which was very unstable and very, yeah, couldn't really do that much with it. So later he got the Commodore 64, and I often just sat in his room just looking what he was doing as a little boy, actually, like 8 years old or so, 8 or 9 years old. So I learned a lot from his tinkering with computers, and yeah, basically at a certain point I got my own 64 to do my things with it. It was already a couple of years later. I think I was 11 or 12 when I got my first Commodore. And what I really was interested in is also to see what you can attach to it and what you can do with the ports and stuff like that. So one of my very first projects was a temperature sensor to attach it to the pedal ports and just read out the temperature and make a program around it and bring it to school and show it off and those kind of things. Yeah, that was pretty much fun. My brother is a little bit older than I am, so it's 6 to 7 years, more or less. And he went to university to study physics, theoretical physics. And he brought home a book also about electronic circuits. I was already a little bit later. I was already in my teens, and I just started to browse through it, and I found it really interesting. So I just decided to start trying to build circuits, and yeah, from there it just developed. I built all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I was really a fan of biking. So I was biking around. We are in the Netherlands, right? So you know how important biking is here in the Netherlands.
Absolutely.
But I loved it, and I was going around on my bike, and I loved everything, like to measure things. So I just had all those kind of kilometer units or odometers that you can attach to your bike. But at a certain point, I wanted to make it digital, so I started to make circuits with counters and stuff like that, and yeah, attach it to my bike. Everyone thought I was a nerd. So basically, that's how it started, and then at a certain point, I had to make a decision of what to study after my secondary school. Or yeah, for some people, it's called high school. We only have one period of school after the elementary. So I was a little bit in doubt what to study. At that point, I could study, for example, artificial intelligence or electronics. Those were my bits. But at that point, artificial intelligence was not at all what it is now. It was back then completely based on human psychology. So basically, the study was psychology with a little bit of programming or something around it. I don't think I would have enjoyed it very much. Especially back then, I was not a big reader of heavy books and stuff like that. So I just chose the more practical side. Well, I still did theoretical electronics, but technical university. Yeah, and from there I just started, basically.
Nice. And so you weren't per se a hardcore gamer.
Gamer? No, not at all. I kind of skipped over that part. I realized that, but I did collect titles. I had hundreds of floppies with games and stuff like that and programs. It was also a sport to collect and trade. So that's what we certainly did. But a gamer, well, there are a few games that I played. One of those was, of course, Space Taxi, and the other one was Giant Sisters. So yeah, Giant Sisters was really a favorite.
Absolutely. Okay. And triggered your what triggered your need to start developing the Ultimate 1541? Did your drive break, or what happened?
The most honest answer: there was no need at all. I mean, let's face it. The Commodore 64, I just put it aside at some point and replaced it with Amiga, and later I got a PC, and so I'm a little bit of a, how do you call it, dissertation. I just left the whole Commodore scene behind me. But I was always curious about FPGAs. So at the university, there was a colleague, or another, a colleague and another student, a fellow student, who was very much into FPGAs as well, and we got along very, very, very well. Because I also did the tutorship of digital electronics at university, so I was basically not really a teacher, but someone who helps with the practical experiments there. So digital electronics was completely my thing, and yeah, just to see what I could do with it, I tried to program a 6502 in there. So one of my first projects, actually, to take the Commodore back out of the dust, was to test my 6502. And that was basically one of the very first things that I did, I think back in 2002 or 2003 or so, something like that. And then it was years later that I thought, yeah, okay, well, let's put some things around it. Just the 6502 doesn't do that very much. Although I did replace it inside of the 64 just to test it. Yeah, there was a time that Jerry Ellsworth was also very active in the scene, and making her own stuff. And I just didn't want to be, I can do that too, right? I can do the same thing. So I thought, okay, she makes the 64. I mean, we all know that she eventually made the DTV, the Commodore DTV, the joystick. And I thought, well, what she doesn't have is a floppy drive. So I just decided to make the other side of the line. So that is the first iteration. I just brought it to the Commodore Club here in the Netherlands to demonstrate it. At that point, it was still very, very rudimentary, in the sense that there was a development kit from Xilinx, and you could attach it to your PC, and then you could upload a disk image with through Ethernet, and then it would behave like a disk drive. That's basically it. No menus, nothing. People were like, "Oh, okay, that's nice. That is actually kind of useful. Can you make it into a product or something like that?" That was not. I was like, "No, not really. It's just a hobby." So I waved it away. And then later, with one of my colleagues at work, we were discussing this, and he said, "Why don't you just use an SD card to put your images on instead of Ethernet, and you can bring it with you, and you don't need a PC." So I thought, that's a great idea. So thank you, Erno, still for that idea years later. So what we eventually talked about is, okay, if you have the SD card, how are you going to choose images? How are you going to choose which file to use? And because you're kind of blind in a piece of embedded electronics. So he said, well, you do have a display. It's called the VIC. You have the VIC, and why don't you just use the VIC for it? So I thought, okay, so you mean to say we put it into a cartridge? Maybe that would work. Let's see if we can access the VIC through a cartridge. So then the conversation started. And then I think some months later, I created the prototype, the first 1541 Ultimate. And I brought it to the computer club, and people say this is really super cool. So that is how it started. It is not really a need for me, but more like an interest in building electronics and combining modern electronics with retro electronics.
That's been going on for many years.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, it didn't go on. It was still a hobby project. I mean, we're now talking about 2007. So the first iteration with the Ethernet was 2006.
Yeah.
2007. And at the computer club, there was one guy, I think coming from Sweden, who told me, you should make this into a product. I said, the thing is, I worked at a company where I was also an electronic engineer. And I knew how expensive it was to start a product or to have a product manufactured. Yeah, especially in the Netherlands, so the initial costs are immense.
Yep.
So this guy from Sweden, he asked me, how many do you need to produce? So I said, I think at least 50 to just break even, to have a decent price, basically, for a cartridge like that. So he said, you know what? I'll make sure you sell. I don't know if it's 40 or 50. I'll make sure you sell 50. Let's put it like that. So what I did, I just opened an email address where people could just send their interest, and I just mailed around, and I told him, you know what, just give them this email address and let me know how many people want to have it. And that was by the beginning of January 2008, and within a week or so, I had a list of more than 100 people.
Oh.
So I was really surprised, and I was like, okay, maybe I should give it a shot and just try to produce it. So I looked for companies in the Netherlands who could actually do it for a reasonable price. And then, I just made the first Ultimate, 1541 Ultimate, the first iteration, without a case, without anything, just a bare board. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you have a product.
Yeah, from that moment I had a product. Once you have a product, you also need to have a company. So because of the there's money going around, there's money going in, coming out, coming in. So for the taxation, I founded the Gideon Zweijtzer back then, and then I had a company and a product all of a sudden, alongside my job.
Yeah, alongside. Yeah, sure. Why not? Work 2 jobs. Why don't you?
In the beginning, it was all just a hobby,
Yeah, and it eats up your time. So just think of it. I mean, how does your family view your hobby?
At that time, I was divorced, so I was alone. So it was pretty easy to spend a lot of hours on these kind of things. A lot of time. It was not really a big issue. So yeah, I just kept it, and my next relationship just fell into it. It was already there. So yeah, I don't know. How do they see it? Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit too much. That's true. But I think, especially in the beginning, I was able to balance it quite well between family life and work and hobby. It was all right. I had my space. She had her space. Yeah.
Are you still are you keeping track of the Commodore 64 scene? Are you involved in any of it?
Well, I think they involve me more than I involve them.
Okay.
Let's be very honest. I'm not a gamer. I'm not a demo coder. Sometimes I get tired of the blue screen with the flashing cursor. But it is super nice to have people that appreciate your work. That is the fuel basically that keeps things burning. I don't know. Is that an answer to your question or not? So.
No, I think so. I mean, I personally, I go to the X party every 2 years.
Well, now I do too. But
okay, so I'll see you in June.
Hopefully, yes. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I need to register. Let's write that down.
That's amazing to see what they'll be able to pull out of a 64. And
superb.
It's
insane. It's really insane.
So yeah, I'll see you there. I can't wait.
See you there. Especially the SID music. I mean, I'm not really that fond of the SID music per se, but when they play it at X with those super big speakers and the low basses that they get out of it, it is so incredible to realize that it's coming out of almost 50-year-old chip.
Yes, it is. Mind blowing.
Mind blowing, yeah.
Are there any other platforms beyond the Commodore 64 that you're interested in, or maybe start developing hardware for?
No, there's simply no time for it. I mean, it would be nice to touch upon other things, but right now it's also a little bit too late in some way. With the Mr. FPGA, for example, a lot of things have already been developed. So it's like it's okay like this.
You're doing good.
You can only focus on a few things, otherwise it gets messy.
That's very true. So now, since a short while, you've been involved in the Commodore.net.
That's right.
How did you get involved in that?
Yeah, that's a funny story actually. Well, you know that Perry Fractic is the one who runs that, right? Or who is the first man behind it. Let's put it like that. The initiator. Well, he just emailed me.
Okay.
And I'll be very honest. I had seen videos of him, but since I'm very bad with names, I didn't make the connection. So I had no idea who it was, and I get a lot of emails. So okay, whatever. Because he didn't specify what he wanted from me, really. So it's just like, I want to talk to you. So I dismissed it at first, and then later I heard through other people that he really wanted to talk to me. And then I talked to him, and I understood what his plans were. And it still took quite a while for me to get acquainted with the idea, to start appreciating and loving the idea, actually. So from there it went. And I must say, I'm not employed by Commodore, so it is just, we just have an arrangement. Let's put it like that.
So anything new the community can expect for support and development?
Not really. I just try to keep up with the wishes and requests for the firmware, and that is enough for me right now. I mean, it has grown over my head. I also noticed that in some way it affects my focus at work. So I try to keep things separated as much as possible. But I think there are more interesting technical challenges that I can address at work than in the Commodore scene. So I think it is better that Well, it's one of the reasons that I accepted Perry's offer is that it would also give me less headaches in the end.
Okay.
Hopefully. It is that other people are going to help me or to help the community by supplying the hardware. That's great. I mean, that's a win for everybody.
Absolutely.
So it gives me the time and the time to breathe.
Very important.
Very important, yeah. So for the time being, I'll just continue to produce and sell the cartridges. So that will be my focus for the coming time.
If you have to talk to a room full of people,
all right,
heavily interested in the Commodore 64 and still make their demos and still play their games, what would you have to say to them?
Never give up what you love. That's basically it.
Absolutely. All right. I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you very much for your time, Gideon.
You're very welcome.
Take it easy, and hopefully we'll run into each other at X.
For sure we will. Now I recognize you. I know who to look for.
All right. You take care.
Okay. Have a great day.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.